Good day, everyone. It's me again, Professor Jeremiah Elioso, and welcome to Introduction to Meetings, Incentive, Conventions, and Events. This time around, we're going to discuss the concept of an event. All right, so for this one, our objectives is to discuss how to develop the event concept, discuss how to analyze event concept, explain how to design an event concept, and enumerate the logistical requirements of an event concept. Okay, so an event theme is a big idea behind the entire shindig. It often involves the overall tone, structure, and goals of the event. An event concept sounds familiar, but it is distinctly unique. And by definition, an event concept is the event details and the elements that make up the practical aspects of the event itself. For example, if the event designer chooses to do a luau theme, it's the event's stylist's job to figure out what activities will take place, what decor elements they need, and basically everything else you need to know to actually host the event. So, the question now is, how do we develop the event concept? This can be done by incorporating the ideas gathered during the interview with the prospect. Or I understand that prior to doing the event or prior to conceptualizing the event, you have already made an initial conversations or communication with your client, meaning to say you already have an information about the event brief. And if you recall, event brief answers the question 5W and 1H. Okay, so meaning to say that you know what type of event is should be mounted, when the event is going to happen, where is it going to take place, okay? Why is it going to happen, okay? And who are the people involved in the event, and how much or how many people would be coming to the event. And with this information, you are more than ready to conceptualize a concept that is fitting for this event brief. Now, let's take a look into the factors to consider in developing the event concept. First is the format. Now, how do you want the event to look like based on the data you have gathered from the client? Would that be using a convention type, hallmark type, or sporty type? On our previous discussion, we have already established or discussed the different types of event. Now you have to understand that there are certain type of concept or theme that is very fitting for a particular type of event, and it should match with the objectives of the event that you have initially set. Of course, the tonality of the event should also be fitting with the concept or theme that you're going to propose. You have to identify whether the event is formal or informal. Now, it would be very helpful if you would conduct research on how the format was used in the previous event or the execution of this event with the different themes that has been done in the past years. You could check how you could extend on it or at least not have exactly the same concept. Okay, now what about the purpose? The driver in all the aspects of the planning process is the purpose. Okay, so it will provide you with a clearer sense of direction on what to do. It is on this purpose where every detail lies on. Example, the purpose is to show sports related. The organizer may consider a sporty type of event. Then from here, being able to know the purpose of the event, you could draft or propose activities that is very much fitting or that would um, allow you to achieve the ultimate purpose of the event. Okay. The third factor would be the theme. Theme is something to say on the concept that we need to develop, and it should link to the purpose of the occasion. Theme is completely compatible with the attendee's needs and it should be consistent in all respects. Meaning to say that when you establish a theme for a particular event, it should be congruent, consistent, and aligned with all of the elements of the event. It's not just only about the decor or the the dress code, but many events failed to incorporate the congruency of the theme with the rest of the elements of the event. Say for example, with the food, with the music, with the entertainment, all of these should possess a certain element that is adherent to the central theme that is being proposed. Okay, like popular theme could be historical, cultural, geographical, or artistic. Now, let's take a look into some of the popular themes, and I'm sure that you are very much familiar with this. Maybe you have attended various events that showcases a certain unique theme. Okay, for historical event or this are events based on era. So, say for example, The Great Gatsby of the 1920s. Maybe you have seen of the movie The Great Gatsby, and we've seen in photos and social media various events which are inspired by The Great Gatsby. I've seen weddings, Christmas party, and that is inspired not only by the movie of The Great Gatsby, but the very royal 1920s era. Okay, next thing is the vintage or retro era, which is example of this is the Motown party. I remember when we had our Christmas party, and the theme of the event is Motown, and we were wearing um, the Motown inspired outfit, and we would be wearing big afro hair. Okay, or say for example the 1980s diner. Okay, so those are the example of vintage or retro era, or maybe uh, a theme that is geographical, with inspiration from a certain geographical location or culture, say an Asian wedding or a Chinese engagement or an African birthday party inspired by the Lion King or the Lion Guard. Okay, because the culture of the Africa is very rich, and we would see semblance in or the use of the various elements that is very African in nature, such as the use of the animal prints in various aspect of the event. Another one would be a theme inspired by the film and music and entertainment, such as the red carpet gala, Disney films, and just recently with the hype of the Squid Game, I have often or this is very much into the trend nowadays with the recent Halloween extravaganza. Many celebrities are have organized a Squid Game inspired Halloween ball or Halloween party or trick or treat. Then you could also do the based on artistry or a mood. Say, for example, the very simple nature of a shabby chic wedding, or the very laid back bohemian or boho chic inspired, and oftentimes that this would be the theme for debut and weddings. Okay, so those are just some of the examples of a thematic event. And as an events organizer, you have to find a fit which theme would be fitting for a particular event type. Okay, another factor to consider is the venue, and this must be based on the preference of the client. In choosing of the venue, of course, you have to consider what the client wants. Okay, based on you, we always have to understand that it should be anchored on the needs, wants, and demands of the client. Okay, and then secondly is the theme, because there are certain venue that would be that would best fit the execution of a certain theme. Say for example, when you wish to have an ethereal garden type of wedding, it would be more realistic if you could have it outdoors. However, we also have to consider other factors if we are to choose between indoor event or outdoor event. Okay, or if you would have a summer inspired event, it would be fitting if you would have the event by the beach and watching the sunset or the sunrise. Okay. And most importantly, you have to also consider the objectives of the event, because there are certain events venue by which you could 100% attain the objective of the event if the venue is very much aligned with the objective. And of course, the things to consider in choosing the venue are the following. So, number one is accessibility. You have to think of when planning the event is how is this accessible to your guests? Okay, so would they be commuting using a private transportation, or would they be using a public transportation? Okay, is this venue very visible? Otherwise, you have to provide them with location map on the invitation. Okay, so second is the location. Okay, you have to make sure that your guests would be familiar to the location, to the address of the event. Okay, number three is ambiance. The ambiance would set the tonality of the event. And ambiance is not just about the aesthetics or the things that you see, but rather, ambiance is everything that your guest would feel or experience on the event, including the temperature, the aroma, the textural details of the ambiance, the use of colors. Okay, so those are part of the ambiance element. Okay, and then number four is seating capacity. Of course, in our future discussions, we would be discussing the various banquet layout, and different banquet layout is there's certain purpose for a specific type of layout. But now more than ever, since we're in the middle of pandemic, we have a concern when it comes to seating capacity. And because of the concern of social distancing, the the seating capacity is reduced into half, or almost half. If normally, if you would have the table used for 8 person on a pre-pandemic situation, usually it is reduced into half. So it could be set on a table for four, or could be table for six. Okay. Number five is the safety of the attendees. So as a gracious host and also as an events planner, you have to make sure that your guests are safe of all the risks. And as an events planner, you have to do risk management, identify possible risk even before it occurs, and have a risk management plan so that when it occurs, you know what to do. And number six, food and beverage facilities. Would the venue have facilities that could accommodate the food and beverage service requirements? Does it have a kitchen? Does it have a sink? Does the venue have tables that would allow the chefs to prepare? Okay, so these are the things that has to be considered. In addition, we have to also think of the availability of other important supplies. All right. So this has something to be related to the proximity of the venue with the other suppliers, with the other requirements of the event. Okay. Number eight would be other features like stage. Okay. Because if it's not present on the venue, maybe you would require a contractor to provide you with such. However, you have to consider that it would require additional budgetary requirement for the provision of such. And number nine, other details that are necessary. So all of these nine factors are the things that has to be considered in choosing the venue for your next event. Next factor that we have to think of would be the participants. So this would be the base from your client or prospect. And it would be very helpful if you know the profiling of your guests. And this includes not only of the demographic profile, but also of the psychographic profile. And it is important that you consider as a planner that you know who the participants are of the event in order for you to match the concept of the event. Say, for example, knowing that majority of your guests are kids, then maybe you could draft something, an event, the style, the venue that is fitting for the demographic profile of your guests. On the other way around, if your guest would be coming from the senior citizens bracket, then it would be fitting if you would have healthy food options for them. The activities that you intend for the program are not physically straining for your participants. And then number six is budget. How much the client is willing to finance the event. So this answers the question, how much? How much is the event? Your concept will still rely on how much is the allotted budget to make the event possible. So as an event planner, it's very important that you consider all of the aspects of the event, and all of the event costs are incorporated in your budgetary plan, because you cannot afford to be over budget on the event. All right. So it is imperative that you have a wide range of information and resources when it comes to the suppliers who would be able to provide you with the events requirement that is fitting for the budget of your client. Number seven is timing. And this is based on when the client wants the event to be held. So this answers the question when. Okay, the factors that we have to consider are number one, season. Okay, in the Philippines, we only have two seasons. It's dry and wet season. So considering the said, there are some activities that are fitting for or to be done or to be executed during summer season. Then there are also, just to be fair, some activities that can be done best during the rainy season, or say that if the event really has to be done during the rainy season, then maybe you could opt for an indoor event rather than an outdoor event. However, in the US, we are aware that they have four seasons. That's winter, spring, summer, and fall. And just the same, you have to consider the season of the year in planning for your event. Number two is the day of the week. Okay, you have to consider if the event would be held on a weekend or would that be a weekday. Of course, normally people are busy during the weekday, and usually it's a rest day for the weekend. So more likely if the event will be held on a weekday, chances are that they might not be able to attend your event, or they might have many excuses because they are swamped with workloads during weekday. However, if it's a weekend, chances are that your event will be jam packed because normally it's a rest day. And let's also add the time of the day because there are some risks, there are some concerns when the event is held during the daytime, and so is with the nighttime. So say for example that for a nighttime we are, now that we're in the pandemic, we're considering curfew. Okay, so as an event planner you have to incorporate that factor in considering for the timing of the event and the duration of the event, or the number of hours by which the event will be held. Of course, you have to consider the ingress and the egress of the event. When we say ingress of the event, it pertains to the preparation. So you have to consider how many hours would you need for you to prepare the event. Some would, or a big events could take days or weeks to prepare. Okay, and so it's the same with the egress element of the event, which pertains to the dismantling of the event, or that's the clean up of the event. But it's more than just the cleaning up for egress, because there are some other activities that has to be performed after the event, such as documentation, turnover, among other activities after the event. All right. Number 8 would be the people behind the event execution. So it answers the question who. So in any organization, the most important asset is the human resources, because they will be the one who will be working for the company. And group of effort of all stakeholders for the event is important because they will be the people behind the success or failure of its execution. However, there are a few considerations that we have to keep in mind, such as your event team. So, this pertains to the crew, the service ambassadors, guests, guest relations officer, receptionist, per area coordinator, etc. So you have to understand of the knowledge, skills, and attitude of your people, so that you would be able to learn how to take care of them, how to address them. Okay, so you have to understand that your people will be composed of heterogeneous individuals coming from diverse background. Okay, then we have to consider also the performers, or this should the event need to have performers, you have to consider their talents, what they can do, what are the event requirements for these performers. Okay, say for example that you would have a kiddie party and you would have clowns, or stealth walker, okay, magician, etc. Then number 3 would be the emergency services. So it would be very helpful if you have the contact information of the emergency services, because there are some unavoidable circumstances that happens during event, such as in the case of fire, such as in the case of accident, or um, different types of scenario. Okay, and then number 4, your contact with event contractors and suppliers, wherein you have to be able to build good relationship with them, because you're working with them every step of the way in order for you and the suppliers to achieve the objective of the event. Now let us learn how to analyze the event concept. Now these are questions that can help you analyze your concept prior to designing it. You have to ask yourself first. Number 1, does it satisfy the objectives you have set in accordance to the requirement of the client. So you have to make sure that what you have set in mind as a theme or concept will still be able to achieve the objective of the event. Question number two is is it the concept that meets the kinds of participants it has? Or would it be fitting theme for the audience that you have? Because there are some themes that are appropriate for the kids. There are some that are not appropriate for the kids. You have to make sure that you still go back to the number one, that would your theme be able to satisfy the objectives of the event and also of the participants? Question number three is the concept attainable? So it's not just about being attainable, but looking back to what we have discussed, your concept should be smart. You remember the SMART? It's specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time bound. Okay. And then number four is the concept suited to the kind of the event. So say for example, you're organizing for a mice event, say convention. Okay? You have to think of a concept that is fitting for a convention type of event. Or if you're working on a social event or a personal event like debut, there are many different types of concept that is fitting for the need of that kind of event. The number five is the concept applicable on the day, the time, the season for the event. As I have initially mentioned, you have to understand of the when is the event going to be held. Number six, are all areas covered? Meaning to say that when you conceptualize the event, you have to make sure that all of your plan towards all of the elements of the event is congruent with the theme that you are proposing. Number seven, are all areas considered when it comes to the implementation of the event? Number eight, are there enough resources for this concept to materialize? Okay, because maybe with the concept that you're proposing, maybe you would have a difficulty in pulling of the suppliers, pulling of the decorative materials for that kind of theme or concept, the availability of people to work on that particular concept. Okay. Number nine, are the resource speakers available on the day of the event? Okay, so you have to make sure that, or if whether speakers or the performers, you have to make sure that you have booked the performers or the resource speakers in advance, and make sure that there is a contract or a down payment is in order to make sure that they will be available on the day of the event. Number 10, can your team hold an event as much as skills are concerned? Because of course, you have to understand that there are some events that requires a certain skill for the people for them to be able to execute the event concept. 11. Are there contingency plan that will avoid or solve problems that may be encountered along the way? When we say contingency plan, it means it's your plan B or alternative course of action whenever there would be unavoidable situation that would occur. However, if that comes, you have to be very quick to resolve the problem. Okay, number 12, is the venue accessible for all the participants? Are there transportation vehicle that would mobilize your people to be there? Is the concept suited for the venue of the event? All right, so these are the questions that will help you analyze the fit of your event concept. And on final look, You have to ask yourself, are there missing important details? Is there a need for alteration? Because somewhere along the way, there might be some changes in your plan, and it's okay. And it's also natural for your plan to have a little bit of adjustments along the way. And also, is there a need for a total revision? Because there are some situations with would require you to revise your plan 360 degrees because there are some unavoidable situation. Okay, but it would be helpful if you would create a checklist. Okay, this will help you identify what are the things that has to be done, what has been done, and what will be done. You may also consider having three or more options. And just like I always tell you, if plan A does not work, you have to have the plan B. And if plan B does not work, you have to have plan C, and so on and so forth. And then also, please check the advantages and disadvantages of the option you have made. Now, how do we design an event concept? The following are the main creative elements made the event successful. Okay, first is to come up with the theme. But in coming up with the theme, you have to make sure that the questions that we have posted earlier are are answered, or you have to make sure that the theme that you're proposing is fit to the objectives of the event. Number two, consider the layout. This means considering, I mean, now with the pandemic, there's a different, we have to abide by the protocols of the IATF, that there is a reduction of the venue capacity by half. So if the, say for example, that the seating capacity of a venue is 400, but because of the pandemic, the venue could only accommodate 200. Okay, and there are different types of layout that is fitting for the need of the event, but don't you worry, we will be discussing that in the future sessions. Do not overlook the decor, of course, and this is the job of the events stylist or your caterers to make sure that the event is decorated according to the theme of the event. But it would be very helpful if you could collaborate, if you could propose, send them guides or photo pegs so that the look and feel of the event is in accordance to what is actually propose. And in setting of the ambiance, yeah, it's not just about your visual aesthetics, but you have to make sure that everything that your senses can perceive would align to the theme of the event. You have to consider the temperature, the aroma of the venue or the scent, the textural details, and the sound element would contribute to a to the overall feel of the event. Okay. Number four, look for suppliers and sponsors. Of course, your suppliers uh, would be providing you with the services based on the needs of the event. And of course, different suppliers have different capacity, different types of resources and services that they can offer you with. Okay, so you have to find a your client with suppliers that is also aligned with the budget. Okay, and same with the sponsors, because sponsors are there to help you or assist you in providing with other event requirements, okay, to help you attain the objective of the event. Number five is create a technical support team. Okay, and now more than ever, because we are on in the times of pandemic, usually we would be doing virtual event or hybrid event. A group of people who would be working or providing you with technical support is very important. Most especially, we would need creative minds who would be able to assist you with the editing, with the use of the audio and video, Zoom management, Google Meet, linking this on Facebook Live or YouTube Live. It's very important that you have technical people to do this job. Number six is consider staging. So this shouldn't be overlooked, as the staging is very important because this allows elevation for the event. This will be the platform for the performers. So it has to be very beautiful. Okay. Number seven, add entertainment. You have to make sure that your guests will not be bored. You have to find an entertainer that will meet your objectives. The entertainment that you are to propose for the event should match the objective of the event. It should add something to it should yield positive expectations from your guest. Okay, because you want your audience to be alive and participative. Okay. Number eight is consider the talents. So this may come in the form of musical performers, athletes, dancers, speakers, and even the master of ceremony. For me, it's very important that you have a very good master of ceremony or host, because they will be the captain of the ship. They will um, they will set the tonality of the event. So it's very important that the host should be adept in any type of the event. So they should be lively, and they should not they should know how to handle the the responses of the audience. And never forget, of course, the catering service, because food is an important element of the event. Okay, so what do we consider for an event concept? So these are the logistical elements. Okay, consider the site access. So that means the availability of vehicle that would service you back and forth. How about parking spaces? How about physical limitations? So would it be easy to move around, especially when carrying heavy equipments? Number three, cleaning. Who will do the cleaning after the event? Or would you need contractor to do this services for you? Okay. The basic services. Can the event organizer provide water easily? Is there electricity? So should there be power interruption? Is there an available generator services that could be provided? Site dimension. You have to make sure, or you have to understand of the length and width of your venue, the height of the venue. Okay, because there might be some decorations that might be needed. Okay, of course, toilet facilities. Okay, and this should always be available. It should be clean. Okay, water is available, and there are also amenities on the toilet. Seven, catering. Of course, since food is an integral part of the event, you have to make sure that there's no problem when it comes to transporting of the food, storing, and the service of the food. And lastly is its safety, where the patrols, exits, fire procedure, first aid is considered and in place. So in organizing the event, risk management and risk mitigation is very important, because it's you have to make sure that your guests and staff are safe. You have to know where to go in cases of emergency, where's the fire exit, what's the evaluation plan, where are you going to in cases of emergency, who are the people to contact in case of unavoidable situation. All right. So that ends our discussion for today. In our next meeting, we will have the screening of the event concept. So this has been Professor Jeremiah Elioso. I hope that you understood our discussion, and I'll see you on our next meeting. Thank you very much, and you have a great day. Bye bye.